Welcome back, everybody, to the Mario Kart 8 Retro Tracks Retrospective. Today we're going to be doing the only two non-DLC courses from Mario Kart Double Dash. I was going to say the GameCube version, but then I figured the entire name of the game probably would have seemed better. Alright, so as has been the trend, we're going to look at the intro movie for Mario Kart Double Dash. Although I will say this now, and I realized this as I was editing, I think I sort of cut it off at a certain point. I don't know why, but yeah, there it goes. It's just kind of... So I showed some of it, alright? Good enough. Alright, so here we are in the good old Mario Kart Double Dash GameCube version. Man, I'm telling you, this game... I got a lot of memories with this game. You know, there was a lot of enjoyment out of this game. But, yeah, you know, playing with friends and doing the All-Cup tour. The All-Cup tour. In mirror mode, of course. That was pretty nightmarish. But anyway, we're going to do a little bit of fancy time skippery, and we're not going to start with Luigi Circuit. We're going to skip straight to the final course in the Mushroom Cup. That's Dry Desert, surprisingly. Alright, so Dry Desert, you know, I feel like it hasn't changed too much, you know, as insane as that sounds. But yeah, the layout of the track remains the same, and, but, you know, is smaller / shorter, as, you know, is the case with most of these old school games. Although there were a couple of things that I noticed that were different. The first one being that there's a giant tornado that is not present in the Mario Kart 8 version, that I think it picks you up and it kind of spins you around for a little bit and then it just drops you down. And then you've also got this thing that I did on purpose, as I'll have you know. That giant sand piranha thing that just kind of eats you, and then luckily it spits you back out. I guess, like, Blocky 2 managed to reason with, or bargain with, the sand piranha to spare your life. What are these explosions? What's happening? But yeah, no, the other thing that's slightly different is the fact that the Pokies they don't move around, and they don't take up space on the actual track itself. Also, yeah. So I got hit with lightning at the very end of the first lap there, and yeah, then it happened again at the beginning of the third lap. So, you know, you'd think that me going backwards and picking up that star was unnecessary. Turns out it was actually pretty good. A pretty good idea. Yeah, it was a pretty good idea. Yes, very English. All right, but yeah, so I don't know. There's not as much bloom, I guess, in this version. And of course, Mario and Luigi keep getting their specials quite often here, which is I think it's a pretty decent special, but I think you have to be fairly close to people to actually make use of it. Also, I got a smidgen of trivia, I guess, here. But yeah, that's it for our run-through of the GCN version, GameCube Nintendo version of Dry Desert. I never understood that acronym. I don't know why it was GCN and not NGC, but whatever. You know, that was all Nintendo's idea. I think at some point, there was an NGC was the acronym on, like, some of the really early parts, and then they, like, changed it somewhere along the way. I don't know. I can't remember. I didn't actually make the GameCube, surprisingly. But here we go to the Wii U remake, hopping right on into Mario Kart 8, and look at the bloom! So much bloom, I can't even believe it. Oh, and then, of course, yeah, how could I have forgotten? Near the end of the track, there is water now, instead of just it being a dry desert. Perhaps, you know, like sort of living up to the name, maybe, you know? I don't know. Crazy. Alright, but yeah, as for that trivia, it's just one small little thing that says this track and SNES Donut Plains 3 are the only non-DLC retro courses in Mario Kart 8 to not involve air gliding. Both take place in the Banana Cup. Oh, that's right. Of course, I've mentioned it on and off. You know, I really haven't been very good in mentioning what the track and the cup the number of the course and then the cup that the track is in. But this time I shall. It's the fourth and last stage of the Mushroom Cup, of course the easiest cup in the GameCube version. There we go. So yeah, there's no giant sand piranha this time. It's just a hole that you get fished out of. I don't know. And then, of course, in Mario Kart 8, this is the first course of the Banana Cup. So, the second most difficult cup thing in the game. But yeah, so all sorts of water going on here. And, you know, speaking of forgetting to mention stuff, and, you know, it was really awful that I forgot to mention this in the entire last video. But yeah, the reason why I kept this second lapse in the previous video is because if I would have cut them out, it would have made the video way too short. And also, you know, with N64 Yoshi Valley, there were so many different ways to go, so, you know, I had to show off as many as I possibly could in those 3 laps. I believe there's, what, 4 different ways you can go, so I showed like 3 different ones, so, you know, good enough. Better than 2. Alright, so, oh yeah, you know what? They also brought a bunch of advertisement signs into this version of Dry Dry Desert. Or was it in the old one? I didn't notice. But I will mention, though, that I remember I said in the first part of this series, where, you know, the older Mario Kart games were, like, at least some of the stages were based off of the main series Mario games at the time. This course, in particular, is actually based off of an area of the same name from Paper Mario. Yeah, the Dry Dry Desert. You know, I hate desert areas / levels in video games, but this is actually no exception. I'm not gonna lie. This track was voted one of the least favorite of the Mario Kart 8 tracks from players. But anyway, here's the side-by-side comparison. Oh, and I guess one more thing to mention, and the differences between the versions, is that the giant obelisks fall down now, and then, you know, you can stunt / trick off of them, and then you get some extra speed, surprisingly. So yeah, there's the side-by-side comparison for the desert whirlpool thing that you just kind of get pulled into. And of course, here's a bunch of water on the right, if you couldn't tell, and then there's no water, and an explosion on the left. Huh. Go figure, go figure. I think a couple of these clips I had actually taken from the unseen second lap of each course. Also, if you guys notice, I actually managed to center the left side, you know, the retro side with the side-by-side comparison. I put, like, Mario, or, well, I should say the playable character in the very center of the frame. I didn't do that in the earlier parts. I started it with part 3. I actually thought to myself, oh yeah, I can actually push it and, you know, maybe trim the side of it so I can kind of, you know, show more. Alright, so here we are in Sherbet Land. And I believe isn't this based off of a area somewhere? Or, oh no, I think there's, oh, I see, yeah. It takes place in a different environment from the N64 version of the track. Yeah, there's a completely identical Sherbet Land on the N64. That was the one on the Wii, wasn't it? I mean, I should say the retro course. Where's the friggin'... Oh, I clicked on the wrong link. I'm sorry. But yeah, so slightly less decorated, I guess, on the GCN version. Oh, and there's a difference with the freezies on the course. I think it mentions it here in the trivia. Oh no, it's oh, the freezies would actually freeze you when you run into them. I don't know why I didn't show that. And then you get frozen for a couple of seconds, which was super annoying. I really hated that about this track. But instead, in the Mario Kart 8 version, they just break and cause you to spin out, which is slightly nicer, I guess. But yeah, no, the freezies were an absolute nightmare in this track of the GCN version. I remember that specifically. And then, of course, you can't actually drive under the water in this version. You just kind of, if you fall into the open ice, well, you get frozen solid. And then Lakito has to save your life yet again for the millionth time. You know, I'm not a really big fan of how Mario says winner in this game. It's just, it doesn't sound right. But anyway, yeah, no, Sherbet Land was the one, yeah, that was the retro course for Mario Kart Wii. The one that so many people hated. I enjoyed that retro course, you know? I never really had too much of a problem with it. You know, I mean, yeah, it was pretty annoying how you had to avoid that, you know, the gigantic lake in the middle. But aside from that, I thought it was cool. I love this this course intro. I think this is probably the best course intro in the entire game. I just love how it looks. I love how they got the fireworks going, and they do like an underwater shot. And then, I don't know, the moon looked really cool. It was, had like a, I guess you could say a halo around it. It was pretty cool. Yeah, there's all those fireworks going off. That's, surprisingly, that's not in the GCN version. Then you got snow everywhere, and then, yeah, here we go with the portion of the underwater driving that was unavailable in the GCN version. It was, this was, they were behind the times, unfortunately. You know, they couldn't quite get some sort of track under the water back in 2003. Only until 2014 could they improve on that. And by that, I don't mean the actual level designers, I mean the actual course itself. Like, I'm talking from an in-universe perspective. Oh, yeah, okay, I get it now playing with Wii. You're saying that in the GCN version, if you went under the water, there was no place for you to actually drive on, but in the Wii U version, now there is. You know, it's just sort of like a, I guess, shifting, just sort of, I don't know, climate change. Well, we'll just call it that. That's the reason why you can go underwater now, climate change. And then, of course, once again, we've got the dancing, or no, the figure skating Shy Guys. They kind of dance, I guess. It's like dancing on ice. Yes. All right. So here we go through the cave, and then of course I didn't go underwater this time. I think I actually did it again in the second lap. Can't remember. Doesn't really matter. It's irrelevant. But I think there was a smidge of trivia for this course as well. Yeah, in the GCN version of this course, if the player drives into a freezy just as a spiny shell is about to blow them up, the player will be unaffected by the explosion, the ice will shatter, and the player can continue driving. That is interesting. Either I just forgot or I never knew that. That seems pretty broken. Pretty broken. You know, I feel like maybe they should have had a little bit more of that. You know, like with other courses, like you could just sort of like deal with specific items like blue shells and stuff by using the course to your advantage, but whatever. Here's our side-by-side comparison. Going under the water is much more pleasant in the Wii U version. And then we're going to show off a little bit of the cave system that leads into the main cave system. And then now we're outside with the little snowy path. The side windy snowy path. Surprisingly, it's a lot quicker in the GCN version. Although, you know, I was drifting quite a bit. And kind of upset with myself for that. I went a little too fast in the GCN version. Yeah, here's some more underwater driving as compared to the non-underwater driving in the GCN version, and then the final sprint to the finish line. I don't know what I was doing in the GCN version there at the end. I guess I was quote-unquote showing off. Oh, and how can I forget the Sherbet Land was the first race in the Star Cup for the GCN version, and then the second track in the Leaf Cup for the Mario Kart 8 version. So that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching, of course. In the next video, I will be doing the first 2 of the 3 DS courses in the game. I'm sure you can't possibly guess what they are. See you all next time.